podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Oh, it's a goal. Who got the assist? Who got the assist?
Greens and sisters, happy new year. New year, new me. Decided to go out for a run today, which was both cold and embarrassing given my fitness level. But hey, you start as you mean to go on, don't you? But we'll FPL follow suit. Let's see as we tick over to over the halfway point of this season. With me on yet another unusual day, a Sunday. We've done all the days now, surely, by now. So maybe a Friday. I'm joined by Sam, as always. Dare I ask, how are you doing? Happy New Year?
Yeah, I went for a run this morning as well. Probably the highlight of my day. It all went downhill from that point. But yeah, you've got to do these things in the new year, don't you? Make sure you're getting off to a good start. Yeah, went to watch Southampton on New Year's Day. That was absolutely awful. And they were even worse today. So they started as they meant to go on as well. FPL shortly followed suit for me as well. So off to a cracking start to 2026. But yeah, hopefully it can only get better from here. As always, we are Who Got the Assist on today's agenda. Even though we're back after a week off due to the quick turnaround, it's still a rapid pod with Game Week 21's deadline right around the corner, less than 48 hours away now. So we'll quickly check in on how we got on over Game Week 19 and 20. And obviously we previewed that last time. And then obviously we'll get straight back into it with Game Week 21. Quick stock check on the fixtures, where we've ended up, any other surprises that we've got coming. And then we'll talk about the Arsenal switcheroo that a lot of us are looking at doing. Obviously a hot topic with Gabriel and Rice topping the charts for transfers in, maybe a trend followed by at least one of us, and Timber and to some extent, Saka being dropped as well. So we'll take a look at that crab over, see whether it's worth it. Then, of course, chips are back. A quick mention on that. Form versus fixtures. Other than the Arsenal kids, who are the managers looking at? Followed by 1 week punts and best captains, followed by wrapping up with our teams. So it is Sunday the 4th of January. Game week 20 is just about in the books. DEFCONs are still being updated in the background, much to many people's annoyances, but I think we should be about locked in now. How did we do in game week 19 and 20, Tom?
Well, I feel bad. So yeah, 19 fairly quiet. Got Cunha in and just went with the vibe in the end. End of last pod. Gave a really good speech about why I should roll it. Didn't roll it. Got Cunha in. Obviously did score this week, so that was nice. But I'd have gotten Gabriel the week earlier if I'd have bought Cunha this week. But never mind. My green arrow sheet was broken. A small arrow down to 141k or so. But it seemed a good week to have a bad week. Anyway, game week 19. But yeah, this week. And I feel bad knowing what's about to be relayed by you. And I always want to do well with you, Sam. So it definitely brings it down a little bit for me that you've not done all right as well. If that kind of makes me a simp, then so be it. But I genuinely do feel. Anyway, we'll get into that in a minute. For me this week, a bit of a roller coaster. And this is the time you switch off if you've been here over the years, chiefly to laugh at my Schadenfreude, because I've done all right. Despite my prediction when I posted my team and when I texted you early on before the game we started that I'd have a second red. So I ended up on Saturday with my rank nearly doubled. No Rice, no Gabriel, just 6 points between Hincapié, Raya and Saka. I must admit I had a bit of a moan. I pre-faced week with a moan and did a couple of race transfers, which we'll come on to. But then, came 17-point Sunday today. A hat-trick from Thiago, who literally is only there because Bruno got injured conveniently and I was looking for a route to Ekitike, and a goal assist and clean sheet from Chow, who I bought the other week. Again, kind of not really as a massively considered buy, but is now kind of just there and powered me into top 100k. I think kind of 81k, something like that, 82k after the DEFCONs have all been kind of added and swazzed around. Goals from Cunha and Wilson. You could have had another late on actually when he hit the bar, helped a lot. No Ekitike apparently got delayed onset muscle soreness or DOMS. So basically, as
That'll be us
like
tomorrow morning.
Yeah, as runners like us know well, Sam. I mean, I'm a runner. Yeah, yeah. As runners like us know well, he didn't warm down properly. Naughty Hugo. So got O'Reilly off the bench, but only 2 points there compared to loads of people that seemed on my timeline getting 17 points off the bench. He
That
was
was
on
very
9
nearly a 9-pointer as well.
I know, yeah. He was on that before Enzo's late goal. I'm so glad I didn't see that at the time, according to my custom of not looking at what points I'm on before the full time if I've got a clean sheet. But yeah, I mean, 65 all out, despite the treble city blank, 13 above safety, and a jump from 143k to 83k, which I'll hopefully be able to stay in and around now. So yeah, really good week. And I feel really apologetic for saying that because it's not the same for you.
Hey, you're allowed a good week, Tom. That is absolutely fine. We can both have independent feelings. I'm not going to get angry with you doing well. It just stung a little bit. You coming into this week thinking you were going to have a crap week, and me thinking, I'm actually well placed this one. And yeah, we'll get on to game week 20 in a minute. But game week 19, 42 points. Pretty average. I mean, what did you say? You got like 37. There was pretty much 5 points between everyone in game week 19. It didn't feel like a good week or a bad week. It was just very average. Timber kept the clean sheet because he went off early, which was a bit of luck. Other than that, no one else really did much, to be honest. It was just a low scoring week across the field. I think that obviously a few caveats apply. I'm sure some people in the chat will say we got 60 plus and loved it. Didn't feel that way in the community as far as I could see. Then on to game week 20. Yesterday went pretty well. I had, I think, 20 from my 4 if we include Timber's DEFCON, which we thought we would get. So that's fine. 9 points from Gabriel, although he did make sure that they didn't keep a clean sheet in the same 5-minute crazy actions that he was doing all at once. Hall kept a clean sheet, went off early. Wouldn't have mattered anyway. He was most of or some of the way to DEFCON, so probably cut short of DEFCON there. Ekatike didn't appear. So 0 from him. I should have mentioned Saka benched as well, which I know we'll come on to. Did come on for an assist. Not the right Arsenal midfielder to own, though, seemingly. 17 points from Declan Rice. Damaged me enough. Came into the Sunday. Cunha scored, which was nice. Held on to 2 bonus points in the end. The 3 PMs was a bloodbath. They were just an absolute bloodbath. I've never had an hour and a half that was that bad in FPL, I think, ever before.
I can imagine.
Every single player that could have done damage didn't just do damage, they absolutely murdered me. So yeah, 46 points, another red arrow. And going into today, I was sneaking inside the top 200k and thinking, okay, finally, I've had a week, I'm well placed that I can start pushing forward, and I've ended up with another 50k red. So what can you do? I've used up all my free transfers now to get Gabriel in this week, so down to 1 free transfer, nothing in the bank. It is what it is. There you go, 46 points from me. Schadenfreude, you're still there for a reason, guys. You can laugh at me instead of Tom.
Sorry, mate. I mean, for what it's worth, I feel like it's not just you who's had that sort of week. And as you always say to me, if I've had not the best week in the world, like those who have had a good week are the ones who shout the loudest. And obviously, since you know that I've done quite well, and you knew that I'd be speaking to me in a bit, maybe that kind of heightens it. I think I still think your team is set up really well. Like whenever I look at it, and whenever we've spoken and I've seen it, I've been so jealous of it. And when you put your team out, posted your final lineup on Saturday morning, I was like, wow, Jesus, that's going to absolutely wipe the floor with me. Like, and yeah, you have had a terrible experience with the 3 PMs. That is indisputable, really. And we've all both been on the receiving end of it in time where the 1-2 players you don't want to score have gone off and done something, but we still have half a season to go. And it doesn't take too much. So James Planet FPL got 103 this week. Obviously, that's now a massive outlier in terms of scores, right? But he was like 250k before that. So it just goes to show that actually threading a couple of weeks together probably is going to stand you in good stead. And I think if you're aiming to be, and there's enough kind of liquidity in the market for you to be there, if you're aiming to be kind of around the sniff, within touch and distance of the kind of the 150k, 100k which is probably where I'll end up being as well. And by the time chip season comes round, you should be able to get there. I think that, you're not a million miles off. You're not kind of struggling as much as I know quite a few other people are. So I know it's a bit shit this week, but overall, I think your team does look decent. I don't think there's any kind of real raging fire. Like you haven't made like a cardinal error. Like you haven't made a big mistake. There's nothing really on you. It's just how the dice has rolled, basically.
Yeah. I think you're right. I don't think there's been any like massive mistakes. There's just been a few like maybe overreactions here or there, like steaming into Ekatike. Now in hindsight looks like a bad call when I needed a couple of transfers to get there, and Thiago probably was a fine hold anyway. So it's little things like that where it could go either way. It's just not gone my way, which absolutely can happen. Just feels like this is like the third season in a row doing this pod where I've entered this period of the season feeling pretty positive, and I've come out of it with no ground made up whatsoever, and it's all of a sudden like I feel like I'm on the back foot. And maybe that's just perspective, because I know a lot of very good FPL managers, yourself included, have stormed from behind me to way out ahead of me. All of a sudden there's a lot of very good ones in the community that are now in the top 100k, and I was well placed to be comfortably within that coming into this period of the season. And for whatever reason, mistakes were made, but also a bit of bad luck as well. So a mixture of both, but I'm not there again. So it feels all of a sudden like I'm playing catch up. And when you've got no free transfers left to do anything with, it's quite hard not to feel a bit triggered by it all when Thiago scores that final goal, and then also Everton score a second. So I don't even get the extra point from Kelleher. It's just like little things like that it just all felt like it was adding up against me this week. But, only a day and a half, 2 days before the next deadline. So it can all turn around quickly. I'm not going to throw my toys out the pram too much. Although it is very tempting to tilt, because there is a wild card there, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll talk about that in a minute, but no, I totally empathise with you. Can't empathise with you enough. And I did definitely spare more than one thought for you during the course of today. It's definitely really rough. I mean, even down to stuff like Hall and Chow, like that is just insane, isn't it? Like the swing there.
Yeah, and I could have had Chow. I thought there was more attacking upside with Hall, and it just punished me massively. So yeah, it's it's those maybe not 50-50s, but like 45-55s. And I'm not saying it was I've got it right and I've been unlucky. Far from it. I've probably got it wrong and also been a bit unlucky, but it feels like heavily compounded versus what the actual balance of the outcome probably should have been. That's all.
Yeah, I just wonder whether kind of those 17 pointers has kind of obviously there are a few more players who returned as well, but those sorts of kind of mad swings are the things that have really sort of punished this week. And those I'd love it if they happened every week, obviously, but those don't happen every week. And I look at your team and I just don't think there's anything horrible about it, as I said. So, yeah, glad the next deadline is not very long away for you. And also, as you said, it's I completely understand why you're annoyed. Just because normally we've got a couple of days to reflect on how we're feeling before we pod, whereas now you kind of like, shit, surely you should be the one drinking, not me.
New year, new me, etc. Yeah.
Don't drink. You should become the guy who's sat there drinking and using his vape, rather than me. I mean, that's what we should do. I should become the ultra healthy guy who's sat there just sipping green tea.
If we could do that and also reverse the ranks, that's fine by me. That sounds like a good plan.
But maybe that's the ticket, Sam.
Maybe it is.
Yeah, I think what you need to do is you need to moan more, because I moaned a lot on Saturday night, and then hey presto, I'm rewarded. Maybe that's how the world works these days.
Yeah.
I'm going to avoid.
Well, you were joking. You've obviously tilted on Saturday night, and you were joking. Oh, I get the points right for the players that I brought in. Well, you kind of did in the end, so it all works out.
Yeah, no, it was it's quite something. Right. Okay. So as mentioned, 2 days to the next game week, and basically we've got through it, guys. We're gonna make it, and we all have. Yeah, not very long until Forest and West Ham play each other in a majestic Tuesday night fixture. A fixture I cannot wait for. I'll be at the edge of my seat watching that. No, I won't be. I'll probably be disappointed in myself watching Stranger Things. But yeah, we've made it. We've seen rotation, Saka an injury, Ekatike a bite. Obviously that's DOMS rather than a proper injury, but hey, there we go. And there's been a lot of low quality football on display. Obviously Man United low quality football anyway in general. But that second half was unbelievably poor. It was very, very bad. And there's, I don't know, Sam, almost definitely going to be a lot of very sloppy displays midweek, aren't there? It's not going to be peak Barclays, I don't think, as the tired teams are wheeled out one more time.
Yeah, I completely agree. Watching some of the football on display this week, it feels chaos ball was the dominant factor here. I'm a little bit more surprised that there weren't a few more like just dead games with nothing happening. It almost felt like it fueled into the chaotic energy of the Premier League more than anything. Like there was a lot of low quality stuff going on, lots of mistakes being made, lots of sloppy errors. Gabriel was a really good example on the Saturday as well for a otherwise elite level centre back to basically almost shin it across an open goal. Like it's just little concentration lapses like that, I suppose, where either players are coming back from injuries, not fully fit, little bit exhausted, whatever it is. There's a combination going on, of course. The quality has dropped a bit, but it does every season, I suppose. And I just really can't wait to get out of game week 21 and maybe a few teams get a rest or two over the FA Cup weekend. And then maybe we can have a little bit higher quality football all of a sudden.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting out of survival mode. Just and not buying the players just to cover off exposures. That's not been fun. And obviously that's an incredibly beige way of playing it, but as we said with General before we started this sort of period, that's literally what I've stuck to throughout this time. And it has been those players, as I said, as I kind of mentioned earlier on, who have just kind of stuck around, like Tarkovsky, Chow, Wilson, Thiago, that I've just had in my team who have seemed made the difference, and a lot of that feels like, we spoke about the butterfly effect. I think one of your really, really early first pods really with me was that, wasn't it? And I always kind of come back to that as being kind of like, there's so many unintended consequences of the moves we make a long time in advance of kind of now, a long time in the past from now. And yeah, maybe it's heightened the luck of the draw a little bit. I'm looking forward to the end of survival mode because, yet again, transfers this week, both of them that I've made already have been survival transfers. And it would be nice to kind of start to look to do something which is kind of more aggressive. Not that, my rank is terrible and I need to be incredibly aggressive, but hey ho, it would be very good to try to do something that the crowd isn't doing. And I'm not trying to kind of cover off bits and pieces. And I suppose it was the same with you going with Gabriel this week, right?
Yeah, slightly. I mean, Gabriel's just, there are certain players in FPL that as soon as they're fit, I just want them. And because I had a route to him I didn't hate in the end, I just thought, we'll get that done. And it's one less transfer I want to make in the future. So yeah, a slight risk there. But after I'd seen him play the previous match, I thought, yeah, there's a pretty good chance he continues to start now. And I'd probably put like 5 or 6 players in that category where if they're fit, I kind of just want them as soon as possible. Bruno will come back into that very, very soon. So given I had a route to do it, I was happy to take the risk, but it also did feel a little bit covery because there was a massive groundswell towards him. Everyone was talking about him. The price was starting to skyrocket, and a factor in why I wanted to bring him in sooner than game week 22 as originally planned was by the time it gets to game week 22, it felt all of a sudden, given the 15-pointer in game week 19, that the price was just going to get out of control a little bit. And by the time we got there, I might have missed another haul and I'm probably missed 3 or 4 extra price rises. And I was in a position where I had nothing in the bank. I quite like the Sunderland defense as well. So I went with Alderete.
Oh, absolutely.
To save the money because I still like some of the fixtures coming there for them. So I just thought, yeah, that balances out the side quite nicely. I've got 2 more expensive defenders, a couple in the middle and 1 really cheap. And that felt much more well balanced than previously. I think my cheapest was Anderson. Then I had 2 or 3 5 million defenders and 1 6, and it just felt like the balance was off a little bit. So yeah, I don't regret that move, but
No.
I probably regret the moves previous to that led me to obviously using the final 2 of my transfers on Gabriel.
It's just been a bit of a wild time. And Martin in the chat said the price changes have completely changed the game this season. I kind of take it one step less before that and say the 5 free transfers for AFCON, which were completely unnecessary.
Yeah,
that's what's changed, kind of upset the equilibrium to a massive extent.
completely agree.
And it's just meant that players who previously you kind of think, well, it's been kind of you've got like, well, back in the day, I'm talking about kind of 9-10 years ago, you'd have kind of probably 4 or 5 weeks with a player before they became kind of effective ownership monsters. Back then, I didn't know what effective ownership was actually, but they became sort of really impactful to your rank. Nowadays, I think you've probably got a week. And that's it. And then the player quickly goes from being a player that you're buying in for aggressive reasons to buying a player for defensive reasons. And I was just thinking about kind of the last few weeks, the players that we have been bringing in. Like Ekatike, I think it's been a bit of a fail. Cunha has been, well, jury's still out, but that's more of a shorter term one. But then Gabriel is kind of obviously the one a different. He's kind of in a different tier, isn't he, than those 2 players? Like beyond sort of the players you're buying in just to cover exposure or just for decent fixtures. Like he's a player that you're kind of buying and hoping that will just stay in your team for the rest of the time. And I kind of wonder, like, I think it was the right thing to do. If you did go there with Ekatike, if you did go there with Cunha, I think it was the right thing to do to go there. Same with people who have bought in Rodgers, who probably have feeling a tiny, I don't know actually, because he's got an assist and 2 1-pointers, so perhaps not. So I think overall of these players that people have been buying in just to kind of cover off, it hasn't gone great, has it really? But I suppose it's such a small sort of sample size that it's very difficult to know.
Yeah, agreed. I think, like you said, it's correct to categorize these 2 types of players slightly separately. There's the Gabriels of the world that I think, even without the 5 free transfers, there would be a bit of a rush to him because he's proven himself to be one of the most effective players in the game. Then you've got Ekatike, Foden, Rodgers, a few other little picks here or there, where I think the 5 free transfers has just accelerated the rush towards them, where they're good picks. There's nothing against any of them as picks, but the hype really takes over when you've got a 2-3 day turnaround between game weeks. There's limited content anyone can consume or look at in different communities, and if everyone's starting to say, oh yeah, that Ekatike, I'm probably just going to get him ahead of a couple of good fixtures now, just get it done, the price will rocket very quickly, because previously people would have a week to spread out those free transfers over. Some would go early, some would go 2 or 3 days in, some would go towards the end of the week, on maybe up to the deadline. Even with the current turnaround in game weeks, that squashes all of the transfers into a 2-day pocket, where you get 1 million transfers over 24 hours rather than over 7 days. And so the price goes up consecutive days because it's such a sharp rise. And then hype really takes over. Like players like Ekatike beforehand, yeah, sure, good pick. But if we had like over a week to think about players like that, not just him, others as well, but I think people would maybe start to counter it a little bit more and think, okay, well, maybe there's an element of underthinking this as well. And again, I'm just using Ekatike as an example. I don't mean he was a mistake necessarily. It's just that there have been a lot of picks like that recently where you can get kind of caught up in the hype a little bit, and like just it feels like there's a real urgency because it's so easily available to people with those extra free transfers up until this point. I think we're all kind of running out now, but people have just been jumping on them immediately, and it does feel like, well, and either get on this now or I'm really making a statement. I'm almost saying I don't back this player to do well, whereas in the past, if you don't jump on a player immediately, it might just be like, okay, I'll give it another week, see how he does. And maybe it won't punish me so much this week because he'll be up at like 30 or 40% ownership. With Ekatike, it was 80, within a couple of days from being like 10. So it's just been crazy how quickly those things have happened. I think it will slow down a little bit now, given
Hopefully.
there's more of a stretch in the deadlines after game week 21. And let's face it, most of us have used up most of our free transfers now. So I'm hoping it does calm down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had, I think Foden was like the forerunner to what we've seen kind of recently.
Yeah.
Admittedly, the kind of Cunha wasn't quite that. Ekitike, and probably it's definitely sort of Gabriel, and we're probably going to see it with Rice as well, who was locked just for one cycle until the next game. I don't know how that even works anymore when he was unflagged, and now he's rising tonight, according to the guys in the chat, which he definitely is. A good point as well was raised by W, who says, engagement could be a bit higher engagement. And also kind of higher knowledge of effective ownership, just a general sort of upskilling of the players, people who are still managers who are still playing. I think that to be kind of quite big, because links to what you were saying, you're making that statement, and you're also exposing yourself to a huge risk that if this player who is the flavour of the week, I mean, there have been times that number we scoffed and said, "Oh, this player of the week. I mean, God, he's not going to do anything." And sometimes we were right, sometimes we were wrong. But within this perfect storm sort of setting where you had such a short turnaround between game weeks, as you say, there wasn't time for that counter narrative to develop. Most people were just kind of using availability heuristic and just being like, right, okay, that guy, I can make that work. The fixtures are good. People have been talking about him. He's done all right. Time to go for it. And
I think we're still, I don't know whether this is a good metaphor or not, but I think we're still playing the same game of poker here. It's just the blinds have been raised very, very quickly to the point where it's like, you need to act fast, and you probably need to go all in quite quickly on a lot of these players. Otherwise, you are making a big statement against it. So, high blinds, but we're still playing the same game. Any bets against certain high ownership picks tend to be more punishing if they go badly, also more rewarding if they don't. So just know that you're playing that high variance game. Well, we all are. Whatever we do, however we choose to play the game now, it is naturally more high variance because everyone's just so quick to react on all of these things.
Oh, absolutely. Shall we jump to? Let's go back. Let's go do the Arsenal guys in a minute. Let's jump to the chips, because that's a really nice segue into it. So they're back, and certainly, we've seen, as I'll say, FPL Gas Dan played his wild card. No, he plays wild cards. A few people have kind of played it early and had kind of the usual 50-50s not quite going their way. I don't know. It's potentially horses for courses. The outlook at the moment is we don't really know. I think you said to me the other day, didn't you, that one of the models, Solio, has started to account for potentially there being a double game week coming up. So that could impact things. But I mean, what do you know about the outlook at the moment, Sam? You probably know a bit more than I do.
Well, it is still foggy, but we are obviously getting closer to being able to piece these things together for doubles and blanks. So obviously we've got the Carabao Cup semi-finals coming after, one leg of it after game week 21, before game week 22. So the results of that will probably give us a better indication of who's likely to make the final. And just one early prediction is that if Arsenal are like the more likely team to make the final, which, they're probably the best team in the whole of England right now. So they are, I guess, naturally quite likely to make the final. Then their game against Wolves, I think, ends up being a potential double game week in game week 26. I mean, this is all just predictions and projections and modeling, not just from Solio, but they'll be getting it from other very good predictors on like where those fixtures could lie. But we're not, basically, all of that to say, I think we're only about a week or two away from people really starting to talk about when the double game weeks and the blank game weeks are going to be. So I wouldn't start planning for it now, because we don't know what they're going to end up being. But we have some idea based on the teams that are in the Carabao Cup semi-finals. So we know that their fixtures are the ones that could get impacted. Not all of them, but some of them. And we know that by about game week 26, we might have to start dealing with blanks and doubles. So we won't have all of the information anytime soon, but we'll get little pieces of the puzzle, and we can probably start planning around that fairly soon as well. So Yeah, keep an eye out for it. It's not there yet, but next week or two, I think we'll start getting a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, just around the river bend for that. Yes, you can tell I've got a almost 3-year-old daughter, can't you? Anyway, I think that, from what you said, which made me kind of prompt to think about this, in terms of chip use, there is something which is, I think we kind of mentioned this when we summarized kind of how chips had gone at the end of kind of the first half of the season, and talking about kind of players and how everybody seems to kind of have this sort of instinct to fly towards safety. I really think that my chip use the second half of the season, unlike the past where I think I've been kind of out of sync with the mainstream last year, bench boosted on a different week to everybody else, and so on and so forth. And H1, we both free hitted out of sync with the mainstream. We TC'd on a different week. You to great success, me to no success whatsoever, and so on. But the observation that we both came to, just to reiterate that, was that most people do sort of seem to follow this sort of mainstream pathway when playing the chips. And yeah, your overall positioning, we'll speak about that in a minute, can really aid how you think about this. But I can't overstate enough how much I'm going to aggressively underthink when I play my chips this year. Just because we're in a situation now, not like kind of 2 or 3 years ago, where it was a lot more sort of like random. You had double game weeks galore. We didn't really know what was going on because of the kind of the weekends carved out for the cup competitions. Things are a lot more sort of predictable, and so I think that especially as I found myself in a decent spot this year, I'm going to just underthink this hugely, and we'll obviously do our best to provide a forecast and provide an update and provide an understanding of where exactly the prescribed chip playing times are going to be. It may end up being quite a regimented sort of one, I'm afraid, but I just think that unfortunately, because of the possibility of betting against the house and it going wrong and the impact that could have on your overall kind of season, I just think that kind of the risk is too great at the moment. But I do like how, if people do it, I'm sure there will be cases of people doing it and coming up trumps. I mean, there is always that kind of that potential possibility. But for me, the opportunity that I've always spotted has never worked out for me over the last few years. So yeah, aggressive underthinking is how I'm intending to play my chips this year, which isn't sexy. It's not fun. It's socks on. But I think it might be something which I probably will do just to ensure that I get a decent finish. I think that's what I'm doing anyway. And what about you, Sam? Is that something that you're looking at, or are you trying to find a different angle?
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm always looking for a different angle that I like the look of. And honestly, before this pod, I was like playing around with a wild card for today because I was just so triggered by the events of Game Week 20. But I am going to try and go along with not the prevailing crowd, but I suppose what's going on in the community. There will be good information out there, and there will be people smarter than me who know what they're doing, not just with one chip strategy, but also being able to map ahead with what the future doubles and blanks could be, and therefore just setting yourself up with a pathway to maybe have 2 or 3 chip strategies open to you that you can pivot to depending on how the results change the landscape for those doubles and blanks. Within that, I think there always is a more popular set of chip usage, so strategy, but there's always like an option B, option C, option D that are also pretty productive. They probably won't come out that far off of the expected points for the optimal route. So there's always ways to get ahead, and some people will just burn through the chips immediately as soon as they get them and be really successful with it as well. There's no problem. There's no right or wrong way with any of it. Some people wait all the way through to game week 35 and go through all of them there as well. And that could also work out because FPL is a game of randomness. Random things can happen and it can always work out in your favor. But definitely in your position, probably in mine as well. I probably don't want to go on a path that I'm not confident could make up that ground for me. So I'm not gonna try and seek out ways to overthink it, put it that way. I'm not going to chronically underthink it, but I'm also, if I see one I like and it seems like popular, I'm not going to intentionally go against it just to be different.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just kind of like, you've got a choose your own adventure sort of thing. You've got, you can keep going down the road, or you can take kind of a dirt path off the side into the forest. And
Yeah.
taking the scenic route has been something that I've enjoyed in the past. I've enjoyed it, but I've not reaped the rewards from it. I've always kind of run into a bunch of trolls who have then killed me, rather than continuing down the path and being kind of unencumbered on my way to the Golden City. If you are struggling though, Sam, and with respect to those who have already played or are on wildcard this week,
Yep.
does that general sentiment shift? So if you're in the millions, or if you're kind of, just know it's all perceptive, isn't it? But if you just aren't happy with where you are, and you could be unhappy if you're kind of in top 100k and kind of think, oh, I should be in the top 1k by now, or if playing all your chips. Sean was saying in the chat that he played all his chips really early doors, and he's now 8k and he's loving life. Why not do it again? No,
Yeah.
it's not like a hard and fast rule, is it? But is there kind of some sort of latitude in playing your World Cup? Maybe not this week, because you're at the end of kind of this wild fixture kind of run. But for Game Week 22, is there some opportunity potentially for people who are kind of thinking, well, I've got to make up ground. This might be the way to do it.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because actually Game Week 22, we might have a little bit more information by the time we get to the deadline, because we'll have had the first leg of those semi-finals for the Carabao Cup. Let's say there are a couple of whitewashers in there where it's really like massive swings that would take it the other way for the result. We'll pretty much know what the doubles and blanks are going to be. Or at least, which teams are going to double and blank, not necessarily where they'll be placed. But you can plan a wild card fairly well around that. And look, nothing wrong with wild carding early in the second half of the season. It's absolutely fine. Just know that you're doing it with slightly less information than some others might be able to later on. And the best way to play it is to cover yourself a little bit. So leave yourself open to a couple of different routes there. Have the picks that you know are going to be secure, and the ones more likely to double and obviously blank as well. And then plan your free hit in the week that they're going to blank. I think there are likely to be 2 proper blank game weeks in the second half of the season. One covering off the Carabao Cup teams, and one covering off the FA Cup. I think it's 5th round, might be 6th. I can never remember, 5th or 6th. But later on in the season, I think if you're wildcarding now or in Game Week 22, really can be really powerful, because we've got a lot of information. It can get you ahead of a lot of people, because a lot will probably just be treading water a little bit, like myself, for the next few weeks. And there are some good fixture swings to be grabbed right now. Well, Game Week 22, I suppose. But yeah, just make sure that you can cover off at least one of the 2 blank game weeks pretty well, and then try to just save up a few free transfers for the other one, maybe. And then you're probably going to be okay. So yeah, that would be my only advice if you want to go early, but nothing against going early. It can still absolutely work out for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it this week just because of the madness.
I probably wouldn't either.
Bound to ensure. But I think 22, if you can find a team that you like, that you can kind of ideally roll to 5, and that helps you to navigate those situations. You've got a free hit as well. Should be fine, hopefully. We simply don't know. And we will definitely do our best to kind of give you the best kind of outlook we possibly can, and because we know it's not easy. Let's switch back to Arsenal quickly, and kind of link into our kind of Form Vs Fixtures thing. So next 5 at Liverpool at home. So why the hell are you making Arsenal transfers, you idiots? Well, I'm one of you. I sold Saka and Hincapi for Rice and Gabriel. Hey, call me beige. That is all I am. I'm the beigest man in the world. I've eaten lots of beige food, actually, which is why I went out running. Anyway, Liverpool at home is next. Forest away, Man United at home, Leeds away, and Sunderland at home. The fixture on obviously is all right, and obviously because it's Arsenal, of course it's all right. Next kind of really messy game. But I'm not really counting Liverpool in that at the moment. I'm not going to lie. Depending on who they get in, it looks like it's going to be Rosinho. It seems to be the guy who's coming in tonight at 28, Chelsea. And then the Arsenal, the big kind of Man City game is on Game Week 33. But surrounding that, I mean, it's fine. Just triple up. And Sam said there's a decent chance of an Arsenal double game week coming up.
Yeah.
And I suppose for a lot of people, they're kind of wondering, if they haven't done it already, like me, why would I be moving on a player like Saka to Rice probably is a big question for a lot of people. I think the Gabriel one is probably one, Sam, which is kind of less disputable. I don't know. It's a bit like taking on Haaland for me. I think that's probably why I was feeling so negative this week as we went into it. It's a guy who just shits points. He really does, and it's one of those that it's a boring transfer, but owning it I'm much happier. You know, the Homer Simpson meme where he's in his duvet, nice and tucked up. That's how I feel now having him in my team. There's been 2 weeks where, good lord, I mean, the goal the other week against Villa, I mean, that was a surprise, and him getting away with 15 pointers, like, very, very lucky that he wasn't highly owned. And this week you're kind of like, oh well, that's a really good finish, Gabriel. I'm cheering. I'm like, oh well, actually that's bad because I don't own the guy. And I mean, I think he's just such an obvious pickup. But there is a wrinkle here, which is obviously, I think if there's any way you can get there. But if there's one particular way you're looking at doing it, that's maybe a little less straightforward. It's more difficult if you own Timber, and that's your sole route, isn't it, Sam? Like, that is a more difficult crab than other crabs, which may be out there.
Other crabs are available.
Let's not say that again, ever.
That did make me smile. That's cheered me up. Okay, so Timber is still a really good asset to own in FPL. He's still he actually even hit DEFCON this week, which is a rarity. His underlying data is still so solid. The problem is he's not the best asset in defense to own, and that is Gabriel. So if it's your only possible route to get there, and you can only have one or the other, and truly you've got no other easy way of doing it, I would probably say that Timber to Gabriel can and probably does make sense. I think out of the two, longer term, maybe not immediately because Gabriel might still be building up fitness a little bit, but longer term, I would say Gabriel's the more nailed now. We've seen White play well when he's given the opportunity to do so. Timber hasn't played every single minute of every single game. Again, it's just a gut feeling, but my gut is telling me that we might see a few more Benjamin White minutes over the next coming periods. I own both, and I'm very happy to own Timber. So I'm not advocating selling him by any means, because I actually feel like owners have been quite hard done by to only pick up 1 or 2 attacking returns in the last 10, 15 weeks, considering the data he's putting up and the minutes he has actually got. I think just mapping forwards, I would expect that to level out. He'll probably get the odd attacking return. That's great. Arsenal are great defense. But out of him or Gabriel, if it truly is an either or situation, I would hang my hat on the negatives, the very slight negatives I've just mentioned, and say that Gabriel, for those reasons, is the better pick. Also, he's much more likely to get the DEFCON as well as a goal rather than an assist. Yeah, I think if that's the only way you can sideways move, fine. I wouldn't say you need to immediately get it done right now, but there's never a good time to do it. Just find a week where you've got a safe transfer to use and you don't have a plan for it otherwise, and probably get it done there if you don't want to find a way of fitting them both in.
Yeah, right. I'm just very jealous of you having Timber and Gabriel, to be honest.
Wait for the Timber bench in Gameweek 21. Wait for it.
Yeah, David Raya, he plays.
He does play.
Ideally, I like Timber or Saka as my third Arsenal, but neither of those things are happening before wild cards. This is going to be really, really difficult. So I'm stuck with Dave. Don't save. Andy Martin was right for once in his life. But yeah,
that's harsh.
That's a tough one. No, it's harsh but true. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. It really is. I mean, someone like Hincapi, Calafiore, yeah, definitely get rid. And then if you want, you can move O'Reilly or something like that across. Fine, that makes sense. Rice and Saka, slightly more sort of edgy one, I think. Basically, my thinking when I was on tilt, and I do still stand by it, even though obviously I wasn't on tilt, is the value. So 3 million I free up from selling him to Saka, and that means that I can do Cunha to Palmer next week.
Yep.
And that felt pretty compelling to me. Or I could get Bruno in if he's back fit after the City and Arsenal games. It definitely freed up a lot of money to do loads of things. And I also felt, Sam, I'm not going to captain Saka anytime soon. Maybe that's 26. Maybe I'll be looking at it around then and going, oh, okay, maybe I'll just kind of get Saka in then and captain him. But I mean, the minutes and the pens being doubtful, and I don't know, I just rather actually almost captain Gabriel when we get there over Saka almost. If it guns my head now, and that was that knowing what I know now, and we were going into Arsenal game week 26, I would literally probably favour Captain Gabriel. Rice has just got a ridiculous number of routes to points, and I think we highlighted him actually pre-season. I wish one of us had gone through with it because he'd have been such a great hold. I don't know, man. I love Bukayo Saka, I really do, and it's a real shame it's kind of come to this almost. It wasn't kind of the easiest transfer to make in the world, but yeah, it's compared to how Rice is doing at 7.1, when really if they repriced it now, it's kind of what I thought to myself yesterday, he'd be like 8 million easy. And the value differential is so big that I just felt like it was worth doing. I say that next week, I'm sure it will swap over. I'm sure those who are on Saka are going to have a great time, and I'll be very, very happy for you because I'll be having a great time too if that happens. But it just felt like the value really is laid with Rice, and that's kind of why it kind of worked for me as an enabler. But that's the sole reason I did it. I wouldn't do it kind of offhand if as it were. So in your situation, own Gabriel, you own Saka, I don't think I'd be rushing to Rice and selling Saka. Easy for me to say that I haven't done that, but hey.
Yeah, so I mean, the value point is a massive one. It has been for a while now that Rice is just consistently drip feeding points. I think we need to try to, or at least I need to try to remove the noise of the last couple of weeks. It's been very noisy in terms of the different levels of return that they've both got. Obviously, Saka's got the benching. Rice has gone and scored 2 goals. Now, Rice doesn't often go and score 2 goals. That the potential for him to do that is much lower generally. And I know there will be comments coming already saying he hasn't done it in ages, blah, 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 blah. But Saka's is, I would say, generally higher looking at the underlying data. He hasn't done it in quite a while. So I'm willing to accept that maybe that's starting to turn a corner a little bit, but still the data even this season would still suggest that if you had both of them playing exactly the same minutes against the same opposition all the way through the season, Saka would have more goals assists than Rice would. However, Rice isn't that far behind him in the data that it's like night and day, and Rice can't get attacking returns. He's still putting up decent numbers. He's also getting better minutes. And then you also get the DEFCON as well. Now, the other thing with DEFCON is, and if you're a little bit of a nerd or a massive nerd like myself, where you're almost counting the DEFCONs up on all of the live apps throughout a game week, you can also see that reflected in the bonus points as it's skewing up as well. Like if Rice is getting DEFCONs throughout a match, he's raising on the bonus points very, very quickly. So if he's got a match where he gets 15, 20 DEFCONs, which he has done a few times this season, and then gets an assist, all of a sudden that's 3 bonus points as well. And it's also worth noting, like we trash DEFCONs, but that's 2/3 of an assist every single time he hits it, and he'll hit it.
I'm not trashing DEFCONs.
Okay, we as a community, not us, we love DEFCON. Anyway, we're obsessed with it. We love it. We're nerds. But that it's 2/3 of an assist every time he hits it. Now, Saka's been trundling along very nicely. He's picked up 3 assists in a row. I think he's picked up like something like 7 attacking returns in his last 7 games. That's great. But when he's not also hitting DEFCON, he's not getting that many bonus points. He's not really spiking a big haul. And importantly, like you said, we're not captaining him and we're not planning on anytime soon. It does raise a question, like, is Rice just the one that you can save a bit of money, and it does allow you in the future to get Bruno, to get Palmer, to have Haaland in no problem, to have Gabriel, like you can afford a lot of other stuff. All I would say, and that because I'm having this nightmare myself right now, Rice is going up in price quite quickly because he's just scored a brace and hit DEFCON and all of that good, lovely stuff. Saka's just been benched, so he's going down in price. I don't think the right time to sell Saka is after a benching. I think it's trying to figure out when the next one's coming, because I think his minutes against Liverpool are going to be 90 minutes, and
100%.
like that's why he got benched. Like, and it's all well and good us saying after he got benched, oh, he's a trash asset, that like his minutes are at risk. Fine, they're at risk later in another couple of weeks' time when we next predict his rest. He's just had it, so that's not going to happen against Liverpool. And on that logic, I wouldn't be rushing to get rid of him now if it's the only thing that you're looking to do. If you're doing it like you are, Tom, to fund Gabriel, I think that makes way more sense. But I wouldn't do it just as a pure one to the other on the basis that Rice is just fundamentally a way better pick, given that a part of the reason he has been a better pick recently is the minutes, and the minutes shouldn't be a problem in game week 21 per se. It should be later on down the line, and that's when I will look at getting rid of him.
For sure. I just think Rice will keep pace with Saka, which is all you want really for £3 million less. And I think that, you know, it's been mentioned in the chat by George, and I haven't noted here that what's really interesting as well is about kind of the role that Rice is playing a little bit. I mean, we detected it a little bit last year when they went away to the Middle East, and they came back and then Rice something and all the set pieces out of nowhere. Do you remember that? And he suddenly became sort of, you know, the guy, because he was like the kind of the ever present in the team almost. Like he was always taking the set pieces. Like he was kind of the beating heart of the team. Last year we had a real problem with chance creation, and that was kind of the real thing for us, which is kind of it was almost kind of like why I wasn't a big fan of buying Gyökeres. It was like that wasn't the real issue here. It wasn't about kind of finishing chances. It was about creating them. I think we finished like 7th, I think, overall for XG last year, 7th or 8th. Someone can check that for me. And this year we're kind of up to 2nd at the moment, behind Man City for XG. And I think what's really interesting is kind of how Rice's role has evolved a little bit, because he's not so much a DLP in that kind of 8 role. He is like expressly a BBM with that box crashing thing that we were saying about Enzo a lot. And that was why we all loved Enzo, why he was incredible for it. And yes, Rice underlying data isn't like, you're not kind of sat there kind of salivating over it. That's absolutely fine. I can understand that a lot. But just watching our games, just kind of I'm quite glad that I was on tilt almost, Sam, and just kind of thought, screw it, I'm buying him. Yeah, he's 35th overall for underlying data, but the positions he's taking up now, those are the ones that a couple of years ago I was saying when Saka got injured, Odegaard might do that. Rice is doing that now. He is in the goal scoring positions. He's in the addition position of maximum opportunity. That's where he is. And I think that's why Rice has suddenly become a really, really interesting pick. But is it a bit boring to be advising the template? I don't know, because I think that Rice is quickly going to become one of those players that a lot of people do own, and he's going to tick over for a lot of people week to week. I think that's great. It's just kind of, I think the discussion going forward is going to be who the third Arsenal pick is, honestly. And whether that is that you add Saka to Rice and have the double midfield, or whether you kind of stick with a Timber. I think that's going to be what's really interesting going forward. Not going to know that now. I think it's one of those things that we'll always kind of see in future. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'd be interested to see which way you go after Liverpool. I think you're doing the right thing just by leaving it for this week, because especially with kind of a Kirkes or a Robertson up against Saka, I think that's going to be a really cool 1-to-1 when it comes to Saka.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. Saka probably won't be in my team for all that long unless they get that double game week in 26, and then he might just stick around. But he was originally going to be switched over to Palmer fairly soon anyway. So I wanted to hold on to Saka just to give me that easy route, but yeah, another big haul from Rice. And I agree with everything you said there about the evolving role. You just look at the 2 goals he scored against Bournemouth, and he was arriving in that exact position you would want a Frank Lampard to be arriving in from years gone by. Like, it's exactly what you want. Nice central area, first touch into the corner, bang. And he's clearly worked on that finish. So yeah, like, he's a great asset. I just don't, given that Saka's just had the rest, I don't know if now's the right time to necessarily make the switch for me. For a lot of other people, it could be, because it might allow other things to happen straight away.
Yeah, for sure. Right, let's move on to Form Vs Fixtures. Mostly vibes, unfortunately. The data is not updated and patchy, and we don't want to give you kind of grossly out of date info. So mostly be thinking about this from a do or do not. Am I interested? Am I not? Kind of standpoint. Well, in referencing the numbers, some of them I think actually are updated, and some of them aren't because FPL points update immediately. It's really annoying. Oh, actually, it's really good because it's nice to see. But anyway, top in the list, Thiago. As mentioned earlier on, Sam, sorry to bring up one of the spectres. Pure differential by mistake for me. Only there, as mentioned, because I had a route to sell Goo and buy a Katike. A lot of, and I'm not criticizing it at all, so I totally get it, anger online that he'd had his run of stinkers before pulling out 2.42 expected goals on target out of his arse against Everton at the Hilly Dick. I mean, Tom F. your dummy, your nudes are very much safe now. But yeah, I mean, can you see people going back from Ekatike now? I know there's a lot of kind of frustration with Ekatike after the last miss.
Yeah, I can see people going back because he's just scored a hat trick, right? And from open play as well. So what only criticism people really had from him is that he wasn't getting that much from open play and he was relying quite heavily on penalties. I think he's probably put that to bed now. Brentford, as always, create big chances for their centre forwards. Keith Andrews is doing a fantastic job. Sunderland next, Chelsea after that. It's all right. I think removing Ekatike now is tempting because of the value you can gain from. So in the same way that we just spoke about Saka to Rice, it's a value game. Like you can do so much with that money. Same thing goes for Ekatike to Thiago, but Ekatike should be. I mean, it shouldn't be a massive issue for him anyway. But even if he misses the Arsenal game, he'll be fine for Burnley. That's a hell of a carrot to hold on to him for. It's like, don't get me wrong. I straight immediately after the games, the 3 p.m s, I was looking at like, okay, what could I do if I did do Ekatike to Thiago? Could that help me with my future plans for Bruno, for Palmer, etc., etc.? Yeah, it could. So I can see the temptation. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite tempted. I'm probably not. We'll come on to my team later on. But I would prefer to have him in my team than not right now, put it that way.
Yeah, talisman, 90 minutes, penalties. Yeah. But Ekatike has got Bournemouth and Burnley in a couple of weeks, and he's also presumably in the same bracket. Don't know about penalties, but has all the other stuff. Liverpool this year, the same reason that both of us have kind of dodged Van Dijk. They're just so hard to trust. It was a bit more of a kind of a punt exercise or an exposure covering exercise to buy Ekatike, and he's absolutely by no means locked in my team. That's for sure. Would I sell him for Thiago now? Don't know. If you've got a nice little fig leaf to do it. Next few weeks, though, you can butt very easily. So Sunderland at home, Chelsea away, Forest at home, that's a good fixture. Villa away, Newcastle away, and Arsenal away. So I count 5 of the next 6 as being bad fixtures for Thiago.
Yeah.
And if you look at the recent data, if you want to try to make some sort of sense from those tea leaves, my lord, he's been rubbish. It's just been that he's got a hat trick. So one of those you got to weigh up a little bit, I suppose, Sam. But the potential is plain to see, and if that's your way of making money, and you keep Saka, for example, you end up on a completely different path than I am on. It's there's definitely opportunity, I suppose. Watkins is an alternative if people want to trade up rather than trade down from Ekatike. I mean, he's now into the top 10 for non-pen XG this year, XGI this year, I should say. Of interest, I think, maybe.
Yeah, potentially. I'm not. I saw a few people mentioning, Ekatike to Watkins will be really popular. I'm not sure I'm that enamored by it. Like, I think it's all right. Crystal Palace next, Everton after that, Newcastle. So, I mean, it's not a great run of fixtures. It's all right. I mean, obviously, Everton just shipped 4 to Brentford, but I don't think it's I don't think it's an amazing run. We don't think he's on penalties. Marlon steals minutes off of him fairly regularly. I think he's just gone through a little bit of a hot streak. Although saying that, we've seen from years gone past that Watkins can be a very prolific Premier League striker, that when he gets on these little runs, he's almost irresistible. So yeah, I mean, he's fine. He's quite a lot of money. I think I'm not really massively considering it, because I think by the time I look at selling Ekatike, it will be needing to go quite a way down so I can afford a more stacked midfield of like Palmer and Bruno. So I'm not, maybe it's an unfair question, or like maybe I'm not the right person to be asking because I'm not really considering it, but he's clearly been doing pretty well. So yeah, I mean, I don't dislike him as a pick.
No, I don't. I just feel like the value for money isn't quite there for me. Obviously, has returned in 5 of the last 5 game weeks, and the fixtures are all right all the way until 37, as we've mentioned, because I don't play Liverpool and Man City in that period, and the Arsenal game's out of the way. Could be an absolutely fine long-term investment. It's just not for me because of the amount of the value isn't really there for the forwards a lot of the time, I kind of think. Rodgers, though, let's jump around a little bit.
Yeah.
Perhaps is one that you'd be looking at a little bit. Keeps producing, despite the data again being a bit meh. Is that just kind of a symbol of quality, perhaps, when it comes to Rodgers? We've all seen his sort of the fact that he's just, I don't know, he's just seems to be a cut above really in terms of the midfield options out there at the price tag of 7.6. And I don't know, man. He could just be one that, with those minutes and the bionic bunny nature of what he is, could be one you just buy and forget about. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that kind of pick, because he will just play 90 minutes a game. You don't have to look at the team sheet ever. He'll just tick along nicely. I think Rodgers this season has ended up being a bit of a feast or famine player. When actually normally I don't think that will be the case with him. I think he will just tend to drip along with pretty good returns consistently across the season. He's picked up a couple of 3, I think, big hauls this season, which account for, I think, almost 50% of his points. I think normal distribution will probably return fairly soon, and we won't see as many like big 15 pointers, but he'll tick along with the odd assist and the odd goal here or there, and probably prove to be good value for money at 7.5-ish million for the remainder of the season. And as we highlighted, or I think probably you highlighted the other week, the fixtures are good all the way through to game week 36. Like, there's never a really bad patch of fixtures for Villa. It's not amazing for the next 3, like I said with Watkins, but they're not terrible. And then beyond that, there's never a really awful patch for Villa. So he is the sort of steady Eddie that you can just have in your team as your 3rd, 4th midfielder, and he will just tick along. You'll never have him as a priority transfer out, because Villa are a good side. He's a great player. And we think, or from what we've seen so far, he's a very good finisher as well. So he'll pop up with the odd goal for you, even if the data's not amazing. I think he's great. I just don't have an easy route to him right now myself.
Oh, I think on the other side of that you don't have a kind of a prize transfer out. Like, apart from for effective ownership reasons, like he was one of the main threats this week, it's kind of like he might be one of those who ends up being kind of like I mean, I could buy him, but there's always this shiny thing going on in the background. Like, there's not going to be a point where it's kind of really obvious that you should buy him. And it might be an interesting kind of one to take on as well. If you do look at Villa, I know there's a kind of a big joke going on about Villa kind of outrunning their XG consistently. There could be a point where you're kind of like, oh, well, I'll probably be all right. I think the problem might be when you get to game week 24, where they play Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton at home, Leeds at home, and Wolves away. That's a really, really nice run of 5 games. And that's the point where I'm kind of like, oh, crap, do I really want to be taking on that level of EO? But yeah, I mean, for the short term, at least, I'm kind of counting my lucky stars and have to go there, really, Sam. But yeah, I mean, it's I think he's definitely one of those players who, if you do buy him, you're there for the long haul. It's just about timing it correctly, as you kind of correctly sort of underline. And on the other hand, Bruno Guimaraes, the good fixtures sort of run out. Well, good fixtures in general run out probably fairly soon. So Leeds and Wolves next two. I think there will definitely be an uptick in his ownership. So one to brace against. And then Aston Villa at home in 23. He is at home, so fair enough. Liverpool, well, do we worry about Liverpool anymore? I don't know. But either way, the annus mirabilis continues. There's a feeling, Sam, of a Lingard or an Almiron. Sorry, Newcastle fans, but it does to me a little bit. Just cannot fathom almost how he's doing it. He just seems to have that knack for scoring points. And maybe it'll be one that I just leave and I'll buy him in game week 28, and then he'll then proceed to kind of get suspended for 3 weeks. And I'll be like, well, I've missed that entire thing. I don't know. I just feel like he's one of those that I'm obviously very happy through gritted teeth for those who have gone there, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it. I just don't know. Etienne Capoue vibes, George in the chat. And yeah, well, that's a deep cut, and I enjoy that a lot. But yeah, I love that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. The fixtures are very good for the short term. Not bothering the stats, but is he a discount Rice effectively?
I'm going to say he's not a discount Rice, and I think a lot of people probably think he is. The only reason I don't think he is a discount
They're both
Rice,
the same price, actually.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah. So first off, he's not a discount Rice. He's the same price. But secondly, I think when people picture Rice, they're thinking of all of the routes to points, and that includes DEFCON. Bruno isn't actually that great on DEFCON. He almost hit it today, or he had it and then he had it removed. But generally speaking, I don't think he's hit DEFCON all that often. He's been relying on the actual returns so far this season, which have been plentiful. But if we're just taking it on the returns that he's picked up, and then we look at the data to see whether or not that's sustainable, and also this is a player we've had several seasons of data on. He doesn't usually tick along at this sort of high rate, and it's not like he's playing in a way more advanced position with way better data than we've seen in previous seasons. There might be slight nuances that make him a slightly better pick and more likely to get a few more goals, but I mean, it's been half a season and he's already clocked up over 100 points. So he's clearly not a bad pick. And he will probably continue to punish me if I don't buy him. But I'm trying to predict future points, and I just don't know. I don't know if it is this sustainable. Next 2 weeks, though, I'm prepared for punishment, though, because they're good fixtures still. So he could easily haul in the next two.
Yeah, the spectre of piss hair, aka Lady Di, aka Anthony Gordon's been raised in the chat as well. After my early season stint with him, I hate that guy. Obviously, as a person, I'm sure he's fine, but as an FPL asset, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, never again. 60 minutes, off he goes. Yeah, definitely not. But yeah, I know what you mean, Sam. It's just one of those. I'm kind of happy for other people if they do kind of go. If you own him, great. If you fancy it this week for the next two, if you're looking to wild cards over the next couple of weeks in Game 22, really good pickup. It's just, I don't know, man. I just can't fathom how he's doing it. It's just great. It really is great. And on Foot Manager, he's like an elite midfielder. No, I've had him many, many years in the Foot Manager. I do have a soft spot for him, but yeah, it's not quite happening. Moving to the defence for the final bit of Form Vs Fixtures. One player who is a proper Foot Manager hero for me and is now an FPL hero for me, Malik Chow. DEFCON friendly goal threat, the Mag Gab. He's been close, and he obviously got that brace a few weeks ago. Last week, got one clear off the line, managed to stab home one this week, in and around DEFCON most weeks. 5.1, I think he will be by the time this goes out. A good 10th or 11th man option. I think he's been very disappointing, actually, before this point for me. But I don't know, I can see why people are looking at him. I don't know, though, to bring the others in. You've got Van der Ven, who's got a decent kind of short-term run. Bournemouth, West Ham, Burnley. I think they then have another good one. I can't remember who it is against. And then you've got Mukiele or Alderete, your man. Really good short-term fixtures. DEFCON's goal threat, well-organised defence, a team only to be sort of strengthened by players turning from AFCON. And they're basically discounted 4.5 million defenders. Like on my wildcard in Game week 6, I kind of regret going with Rodon over one of these guys because they're kind of like ones that you can just hold through and just be really good assets. And over the next few, some of them have got really good games as well.
Yeah, I mean, I really hate the fact I own Hall and not Chow. So just tick that one off very quickly. I would be in a much better mood if I did. But I still think Hall could potentially Hall in the next few weeks. Fingers crossed on that. But yeah, Chow's been fantastic. Defcon's looking really good. A good goal threat from set plays. So yeah, anyone looking for a mid-price defender, not a problem with him whatsoever. And they've been unfortunate not to keep more clean sheets than they have done so far this season, I think. Van der Ven also, yeah, don't discount him. Good fixtures coming. A bit like Xiao, he's always got some attacking returns in him from those set pieces. So yeah, again, 4.5, good value. I wouldn't count on too many Spurs clean sheets though. Probably if you've got the 0.5, I'd go with Chow over Van der Ven personally. But then yeah, if you're looking for the really cheap guys, Mukiele 4.3 is good. I would probably because I did, but I only did because I had no wiggle room. I would probably just recommend going Alderete, who's playing just as many minutes, is just about as good on Defcon. It's almost neck and neck, and same on goal threat. So I'd probably just save the money and go Alderete. Famous last words, and Mukiele is about to score a brace and punish me even more. But maybe it goes Alderete's way. Who knows? And he's been just as involved in those sort of areas too. So, yeah, I think I would just save the money there and go for the 4.1, not the 4.3. But yeah, all three of which great defender pickups right now. Probably Van der Ven would be my least favorite just because I don't really back them to keep that many clean sheets.
No, I agree. I think that Mukiele basically can play left back. If my foot manager memory serves me correctly, which could obviously take a hit for his Defcons if he does end up at left back when Ballard's back as well. That could be kind of how he fits into the team because he is a quality player, and his kind of back catalogue of teams that he's played for before he end up at Sunderland, a bit like Granit Xhaka, is something to behold. Almost like ex RBL, ex PSG, was at Bayer Leverkusen last year, and then kind of pitched up at Sunderland. Like one of those players, like double take when he signed, a bit like Xhaka. Actually, to be fair, it's something great this year. But yeah, I mean, any of them are great. I just feel like if you're looking for, especially if you're kind of selling O'Reilly and another defender to get Gabriel in, I feel like kind of the Sunderland players are very difficult to overlook. There's kind of like that discount in terms of kind of 0.4 for Alderete, 0.2 for Mukiele. I don't know if he's rising tonight. Actually, he might be. No, he's not. It's all fine for me. Nico O'Reilly, Sam, just a kind of general one to finish off on here in terms of the defence. I know obviously he was on the verge of 9 points tonight. There were some risks. There were some sort of naysayers like me who benched him and that he wasn't going to be playing the last game and did go on 56 minutes. I was worried as well. Should people kind of be looking to move that on if they possibly can? Say you've got loads of transfers left and you're like, well, I want to use them now. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he himself is a bad pick. I just think there are now 6, 7, 8 defenders I'd rather own. And I think that's enough at this point in the season where, I mean, we've just listed a few that I'd quite like. You've got at least a couple of Arsenal defenders that I'd prefer over him, and the Everton defenders as well. There's enough there that I would say that his time in, well, my team ran out last week. I don't think he's a bad pick. I think he'll get attacking returns at some point, although that does seem to have dried up a little bit. I'm a little bit worried that when Ait Nouri comes back from the African Cup of Nations, his minutes get managed a little bit. Gvardiol going off injured, and it looked a bad one, given that he was helped off the pitch. I would say that might boost his expected minutes a little bit. So if you wanted a reason to hold on to him for a bit longer, then that could be it. But yeah, I even so, I still think there might be 4 or 5 minimum other players that I'd want at that sort of price point over him now, including other Man City defenders, to be honest.
Yeah, he's there. He's going to stay there for me, just because
He
I've got
can
other things
stay.
to
He's not a
do.
bad pick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's the cheapest way in this defense, and
Yeah.
that's that. I mean, so he was on for a 9-pointer before the Enzo goal. If he hadn't have, was it Neto on the other side he let in? I can't remember who it was now. If that hadn't happened, I think we wouldn't be having this conversation. Anyway, on to me punts.
Yes, indeed. So we'll quickly summarize the last 2 weeks because we had to double it up. You had a player unfit, so we've had a bit of an add in there last minute. But I'll go first quickly. So I went Dorgu in game week 19, Van Heck in 20. So I picked up 8 points between them. Little bit disappointing, but fine. And Tom, you?
Yeah, more disappointing. Cunha against Wolves, and then I went for Calvert-Lewin just because I was like, well, he's starting. I'll go for that, because I had Minte originally, and so 2 blanks in a row. 123 for me, but 95 for you. We've both gone for Everton this week.
Yes. Well, I went for Keane the other week. You went for Tarko. So I thought, well, I haven't used my Tarko voucher this season so far. So yeah, Tarkowski at home, pretty decent fixture. Yeah, I like the sound of it. Fingers crossed he can. Well, maybe not so much because he's not in my team, but Defcons seem off the charts at the moment. He's got a bit. He was unlucky not to score today as well. Actually, if it wasn't for Thiago saving
last game as well.
And last game, yeah,
he should have scored.
It's coming.
Forest.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming, and I'm worried about that because he's getting up there in the ownership too. Fantastic pick. Yeah, he's going to haul for you this week, and he's going to get at least 10 points, I think.
He's a ball to head attacking player. Like he's not that good in terms of he's no Gabriel, but yeah, the Defcons are great, and yeah, he's not going anywhere for me. I mean, Everton's fixtures just like okay, basically for quite a while, like up until I probably potentially wild card. I mean, it's a game week 30, I think, is when they play Arsenal. Other than that, like every other fixture, even though they're not the best team in the world, are all like just chill, whatever. I've got Grealish for this week just because got to assess this week. Why not again? I would have gone for Beto or Barry, but you never know because Beto scored this week and Barry scored this week. Who's going to be playing? We just don't know. So yeah, I thought Grealish felt good. On to captaincy.
Yes.
Haaland, he's a blank machine, man. He's terrible. He's awful. I think I'm gonna be selling. Honestly, 3 blanks in a row, Sam. This is unacceptable from any player. I'm going to be selling him probably for I don't know, Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, I was going to say there's an obvious replacement there. Why save the best part of 10 million? Yeah, it's been a bit disappointing recently, hasn't it? To be honest, and it's gonna. Who knows whether this continues? He does seem to get off to a really hot start to seasons and then tail off a little bit. Like if you look at the last couple, I think he's done this a couple of times. So yeah, maybe this is a trend that we need to be aware of. I think it would be a little bit early to say that, especially with the fixtures coming. They've got, I think, 3 decent in a row now. Is it Brighton, Man United? Then is it Wolves? I think.
Yeah,
is that the next 3?
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be selling him. I'll probably be captaining him in all of those.
I will be.
You just have to ride the wave with the robot and hope that he gets into gear again soon, because it's been a bit disappointing. But put it this way: there's no one out there right now that I'm like, yep, I can take him on with any of them. Like even Cunha, who scored this week, he had like 3 shots against Leeds. It's a good fixture against Burnley, but do I have any more confidence in him than I do on Haaland? No. If Bruno was definitely starting, then maybe. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't inspire confidence, does it? So yeah, Brighton at home for Haaland. Hope it pays off.
Look, when in the first half of the game against Chelsea, Haaland hit a shot with the inside of his left boot, which hit the inside of the post. I literally messaged my Slack that it was a goal. That it was 1-0 to see robot. And
SofaScore also counted it as a goal.
Did they? Oh my
immediately,
goodness!
and then it wiped it like instantly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I was like convinced. I was doing my daughter's dinner at the time. I was like convinced it was a goal. Like, I saw it. I was like, "That's going in, right, done." And then I looked back and I was just like, "Hang on a minute, why is it still 0-0?" Like, it's just one of those things that, like, if it's just Harlem things. He'll be fine.
He will.
Probably. Right, okay, on to our teams and plans then for the next couple of weeks. Yeah, one free transfer left, and the man who is on tilt, wildcard, I think, Sam. I think that's the only possible option, isn't it? I mean, this is a terrible team. No, I joke. This is great. This really is great.
I hate it. I hate this team right now. Well, I'll quickly walk through it. So Sunderland at home for Kelleher, 4 at the back with double Arsenal defence against Liverpool, but it is Gabriel and Timber at least. So a bit of attacking threat for both. Lewis Hall at home to Leeds. He went off just after 60, so I think he'll be fine for that. Alderete currently away at Brentford, starting for me in a 4-5-1. Midfield, 5 of Cunha, Szoboszlai, not loving that. Saka, Foden, and Anderson. Anderson is just 4 points week on week on week. And as much as like I quite like the 4 points, I would also like someone who could get a little bit more. I mean, it does feel like he's lost all attacking threat all of a sudden. Which doesn't help, although he took a corner, so maybe there's something. And then Haaland up top, Brighton at home, captain for me. Ekitike is currently on my bench away at Arsenal. I didn't feel like I should play both of the Liverpool guys away at Arsenal, and Ekitike, given he's a doubt, seems like an easier player to bench. And then Anderson also there. Probably actually Anderson should be my first sub at home to Chelsea. I'm not loving my team this week at all. I think it's quite an average to poor team. There's a few holes here I don't like. I don't like the 4 Liverpool Arsenal players. I don't like Anderson in my starting 11. Don't love Alderete away in my starting 11. Foden's been disappointing recently as well. Yeah, I mean, I've only got 1 free transfer. I was telling myself I should probably start building up those transfers in this period anyway. I was hoping for a better game week coming into this so that this week could just be a bit of a stopgap. But yeah, I'm not loving it. I am tempted to use the 1 free to save the money somewhere, to like Ekitike down to Thiago or Saka down to Rice, just to help me in the future. Probably Thiago in for Ekitike would be the more helpful one there. But I mean, I don't really feel inspired to make any moves, and I almost feel like anything I'm doing at the moment is kind of backfiring. So just leave it and come back to it in a couple of weeks with a few free transfers.
Definitely. If in doubt, do now. 2 free transfers is going to really help you. Just don't think it's a bad team. Honestly, mate, there's nothing there that I'm just like, this is a screaming issue. As I said earlier on, you've gotten on the wrong side of a couple of variance driven outcomes, and suddenly it can bring you down. And then next week, you throw out the same sort of team and it comes out with a 70-80 pointer, and you're like, oh, actually, I'm fine with this. This is great. I'm really happy with my team. It can't be very someone like Foden, for example, could have scored in the first half today. All it would take is like a Szoboszlai. So I was going to say a Szoboszlai free kick would be great, but then suddenly you've got double Arsenal defense and it's not as great.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah, that's tricky. But I mean, you're not. I don't think you're playing Anderson there, I'm afraid. I can't really see a world where that kind of works. Anderson rather than Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am a little tempted to do Thiago in and then bench Szoboszlai. A little bit.
Szoboszlai. Yeah.
But then I'm binning off effectively one of my 2 Liverpool players ahead of Burnley at home the next week.
I would not be doing that. And
swings and roundabouts.
I would never in a million years be doing that because of Burnley. Like, you'll get there and you'll be like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Just because of that fixture.
Maybe
Yeah,
just
and
take
then
the car crash week on the chin, I think.
they've got Bournemouth week after as well, who are just
Yeah.
their defense is like, I've got a pack of crackers that I haven't eaten over Christmas that are probably more sturdy than Bournemouth's defense at the moment. So
Are they playing them home or away though? Because
they're
Bournemouth
away.
at home, yeah.
Yeah, but I know, but it's not the same. Yeah, they're still conceding a lot of goals. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just yeah, I think probably if in doubt, do now. Effectively,
Maybe it's one of those weeks where I text you saying this is going to be awful, and it ends up being nice. Who knows? I doubt it.
What you need to do is you need to say on your post that you're expecting red arrow, and then you text me and say that I'm effed. And then what you need to do is you need to manifest it. You need to really feel and commit to feeling destroyed, and that your game week is absolutely going to be a red arrow. You're going to be absolutely down in the dumps. You're going to be 800k by the end of it, 1 million by the end of it. That's what you need to do, because that seems to be how you do it. And also, kind of on Thursday night, Tuesday's the start of the week, have a massive moan. Just have a moan, and then apparently that is what means that you get a nice green arrow. Those are the ways to do it. God, what's it? Illusion of control, as Ross was talking about. But I think, as mentioned in the chat by Martin, like by the time the deadline's over, you look at that team again, 22, you'll be like, oh, actually, I'm really well set.
It
is a really good team. Because suddenly you end up with 2 Liverpool players against Burnley, you end up with 3 Arsenal players who are probably the prime 3 against Forest. So take it from there.
You're probably right. It's only 1 game week at the end of the day. Anyway, I'll get my moaning done privately to you in the DMs. Let's move on to your team. Cool. You're looking good.
Yeah, so Gabriel and Rice have come in for Hincapi and Saka. 2.6 million in the bank now, which is enough for Cunha to Palmer in one move. And I have 0.3 million wiggle room. That's not going to change anything tonight. Palmer didn't do the old club narrative thing, so I'm definitely considering that. If not, it'll be Rodgers, and I'll find money later. That's the week after this, where Cunha has his time in the team. But yeah, good position to be in. I've also got Ektik on the bench. I am playing Chow, Tarkovsky at home to Leeds, Tarkovsky at home to Wolves, Gabriel at home to Liverpool, obviously, and O'Reilly at home to Brighton. And some people, and including most of the models, say you should bench Wilson at home to Chelsea. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I'll just play Wilson and bench Ektik as it is.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so a bit of 4-4-2 terrorism. I've just got loads of money and not really got much I've got no chance to spend it, but it's not much of a problem because I know that I can do Gabriel to Palmer. Cunha to Palmer. So I feel like that's going to be what I do. And it's kind of nicely opened up for me. Don't know what I'm going to do about Bruno when he comes back. I've got no clue. I mean, that's looking like kind of Thiago and Wilson out for some piece of rubbish and then Bruno. But yeah, I mean, we're not far off the Foden, Rice, Bruno, Palmer midfields. So yeah, it's all doable. If not very long. Even could be Foden's time is over fairly soon. You never know.
One question for you before we wrap up: if we had news that Fernandes starts against Burnley, is there any universe you'd rip apart plans to get him immediately?
No.
Not even if you had 1 free transfer and you had Saka?
Yeah, if I had Saka, then I possibly would, because he's in the same bracket for me as a long-term Bruno hater. He's now in the bracket for me where I would be thinking, yeah, okay, they've got Man City and they've got Arsenal next, but after that, the fixtures are kind of just fine. There he is, a bit like Rodgers till the end of the year.
Yeah.
So there is a world where I do that, honestly. The problem is the general sort of thug around Man United at the moment. It's not looking good, Brev, for Ruben. And you got to wonder where that's going to be going forward. But hey, you know what? If they did play 4-2-3-1 and Bruno was the number 10, shock horror, they might actually be all right. God, maybe I should Man.
I mean, Bruno was game breaking before he got injured anyway. So Yeah, I don't know. I'd be a little bit tempted if we had
A little
absolutely ironclad news that Bruno was back for Burnley. I'd be a little tempted to do it, but it would have to be for Saka for me, unless I did like a -4 to like Szoboszlai and Ekitike down. Maybe, I don't know. It just doesn't.
You could do Saka and Szoboszlai to Rice and Bruno, couldn't you?
Well, I could just do Saka to Bruno.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I could also, I could make the -4 to keep an Arsenal triple up with Rice in there as well. That's true. But yeah, good point.
I suppose for me as well.
Yeah.
So for me as well, like because I think I'll probably pick up Palmer first, and then because of the City and Arsenal games, that acts as kind of a nice smoke screen to not need to consider Bruno.
That's
and
the
then
thing.
After that, then he becomes like, all right, that is like, and
It's
the
Gameweek
models will back
yeah.
me 100%. They'll be like, right, you need to get Bruno immediately. Like, just
Yeah.
don't do anything else. Just stop what you're doing by Bruno.
Yeah, yeah.
So
my plan is Bruno 24. It made me, I don't know, a little bit curious hearing that Bruno was like in and around getting minutes for Burnley. I was like, oh, maybe there's a route to get him in early, but given I've only got one free transfer, I'm not sure that's actually doable. But yeah, just interesting to hear your thoughts on that as well. And I'm sure there are other Bruno lovers out there who also wanted to get your take on it. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, Foden's got Spurs away then. They're ironclad at home, aren't they?
Yeah,
something like that. Cash it in. No, hang on. No, we'll get there when we get there.
Right then, I think we're just about wrapping up for today. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. We have been Who Got the Assist. You can find us on Blue Sky at Who Got the Assist, all written out, one word, and FPL Pricey on there for me. On X, it's WGTA_FPL, FPL Pricey on there for me as well. And on YouTube, it's Who Got the Assist, all written out, one word. And I'm on there at FPL Pricey too. So if you did enjoy the pod, we'd really appreciate it if you could give us a follow on those social channels, give the pod a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. And of course, leave a like, hit subscribe if you're watching along on YouTube. All of those things really do help us out. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sam. Hope you feel a little bit more cheery now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. just make more jokes about venereal diseases, and then you're literally fine. I'll text you a few later on. Anyway, I hope this is you kick off 2026. We away again for a little bit. Actually, used to have a calendar full, so no pod on Tuesday this week because obviously that's the first week of Game 21. Instead, we'll be back the week after, so that's January the 13th, and be able to bring you updates from the FA Cup third round weekend too. So yeah, cool. Good to see you in 2026, and we'll see you again Tuesday after next.
Oh, it's a goal. Who got the assist? Who got the assist?